My name is Clint Hordeman. I grew up here in the Treasure Valley. I went to high school at Centennial High School and then graduated from Eagle High School in 1996. In high school, my junior year, we went 26-0 and won a state championship. And my senior year was a split. It wasn't a voluntary thing where I went to Eagle High School, but it was I was in their boundaries, so I was kind of made to go to that school. But we won districts. So right out of high school, I was recruited by the University of Idaho. I got a full-ride scholarship I offered to University of Idaho. Both my parents, mom and dad, brother, were all Vandals, and so going to University of Idaho was a natural fit for me. And basically what happened was I made a verbal commitment to them a week before. Coach Cravens was the one that gave me the offer. He was at Weber State and then he's actually a commentator for Mountain West Station. A week before I went to sign my letter of intent, he got fired. And Kermit Davis, the new coach that was at Utah State, took the job and was recruiting my best friend, John Harris, and essentially said that I'm out and he's in, and he's going to use my scholarship to give to him. The other schools that had been recruiting me was Idaho State and some others, Eastern Washington, a few other schools, but a lot of the Division II schools were also recruiting me. And essentially what happened was I was kind of out and with no opportunities, so I went to a junior college for a year. Not that I wanted to, but the coach at NNU, NNC at the time, Coach Weidenbach, was a close friend of mine, and coach friend of my dad's. My dad was a high school basketball coach for 25 years here in the Valley, and he told me with the agreement that, hey, I'm going to get you to a great junior college called Clackamas Community College, with the understanding that if it doesn't work out with the Division Ones, because I always had a dream of playing Division I basketball, if it doesn't work out, I would go back and play at NNC in Nampa. And so anyways, so after I lost my scholarship offer, I called all these other schools back. They told me that they'd already given my scholarship away. So I learned real early the ruthlessness of college recruiting. So I went to junior college for a year, which was probably, to be honest with you, the best thing that ever happened in my basketball career. I went there, I got to play a ton, and as you guys, I'm sure as everybody knows, you don't play a lot as a freshman at a Division I level. I got to go there, I got to play 35 minutes a game, had a great year, big year for me, improved a ton, got to go into a big city because Clackamas was in the Portland, got to play against a lot of Division I athletes, honed my skill set, and was recruited by Boise State by Rod Jensen to go play for the Broncos, with the understanding that I would redshirt my first year and be a walk-on, and then get a scholarship my last three, which is what happened. So it worked out great. We had a good relationship, and it was funny because Idaho came in and wanted to recruit me after I had such a big season over at Clackamas, but I I wasn't having that. I was more excited to be against their rival. So anyways, from there, had a good career, loved it, went to work at University of Nevada, Reno under Coach Johnson, who's now currently the coach at TCU and was at Stanford and LSU and Nevada, et cetera, et cetera. But it was at Nevada that I coached for him. Realized after a year that wasn't what I wanted to do. So I then went and worked for the Idaho Stampede, which is the NBDL team here in town, and worked there for about a year. Realized that also wasn't exactly what I wanted to do, but it kind of sparked my next thing, which is starting Idaho Select with my brother. Whereas now we have roughly five teams going at a time in the summer and spring. We also do a huge 3-on-3 basketball tournament. We do a huge 5-on-5 basketball tournament that actually had around 95 teams this year. And we also started a thing called Transition Hoops Report, which is a scouting service for players in Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, Oregon, Washington, and northern Nevada and Utah. Anyways, so that's kind of my background in a very long story. I think the biggest thing for me, this is my era when I got recruited. I don't know if I'm younger or older than most of the people that you've interviewed, but in my era, They didn't have internet. They didn't have Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, all the things that now make the world so small. And Idaho, obviously, is a small community. There wasn't as many opportunities. So I think the biggest thing is high school basketball was a lot bigger, to be honest with you, then than it is now. So having winning championships and having a huge high school seasons was big for me. I think the other thing that was really big was we went down to a tournament called BCI. It was in Phoenix, Arizona. It was the same thing as what we do now. There was 300 teams, and I had a good year to kind of get on the map of some of those teams that the schools that recruited me. And I'm trying to think here. Some of the other things, my dad, being a high school coach, even though he wasn't my high school coach and he was retired by the time I played, he was good at he had a lot of relationships. The basketball world is so small, and it's so much more about who you know than what you know. Obviously, if you're talented and you're skilled, these college coaches get paid a lot of money to find you. But back then it was a lot harder. So my dad was pretty proactive in getting a hold of different schools and having the relationships that he had and getting them to come watch me play and things like that. So there was no magic back then because there wasn't a lot of magic to be had. It was the world was was a lot different than it is today. So. I would say there's two. One is being real successful at our state tournament because that was the one place where college coaches would come. Having won state my junior year, and then I was committed by my senior year when we went to state that year. But I know that was big just because that was one of the few places that we could get recruited. And then going down to Phoenix was big for me as well, just because there was a lot of coaches there that were there specifically to evaluate, and it was a way for us to kind of go to them. We could take our team and our talent to them. So I think those are the two biggest. So, which is funny when you ask that question, because I get asked that question literally 50 times a year, maybe 100, probably 100 times a year. And I'd say this, there's a combination of things that I always say is good. One is do your best to find a reputable AAU program where the coaches and directors are genuinely kid-first program. There's a lot of programs out there that maybe not even have a malicious intent, or it's a dad that's put it together or whatever, but it's really hard for a college coach to, a lot of times they'll go, because there's so many AAU teams, they don't know how to filter it down. And if they don't have a knowledge base, what I've found over the years is the college coaches won't trust them, and therefore when they say, I got these great players, or I got this or that, they're just like, yeah, right, whatever, and they won't go see him. Or it's just, again, it's a dad, so it's a team and not a program. Well, it's hard for a team to get a reputation unless they got some spectacular player. If it's a program, and like Idaho Select or some of these programs that are around, that have been around for a long time, they kind of have a track record of how they play, the type of players they have, etc. And so I think the opportunity to play on a quality AAU team is great. Now, if you don't have a lot of options, which some people don't, again, if he's good enough, he's a great player, people know him, he should have options. So I think that's one thing. But if they don't, doing something is better than nothing. So trying to get out and going to the right tournaments during the open periods is huge. So that's one thing. One suggestion I've been doing recently is trying to encourage kids to make a 5 to 7 minute highlight film that they can post on YouTube for a couple of reasons. There's so many kids out there that are trying to get recruited that that video may be impressive enough that it sparks the attention of a coach, whichever level, where they're going to Vegas, I got to go see him play because he did something that was impressive, whatever they saw. College coaches are so busy, they try and recruit so many kids. If you make it a game or 45 minutes, they just flat out don't have time to watch it all. And there's so many lulls during a game, especially on film where it just looks slow, that there was a time when those highlight films were just like, look, we don't want them. But now it's come to like, let me just see how he moves real quick, if he's got some pop to his game, whatever. And so I feel like that's critical. And because of YouTube and because of how small it's made the world, you can put a link and just email it, and you may get some people to click on it. It's quick, it's easy. I think that is a critical thing that you need to that you need to have, especially for kids that don't have a ton of exposure and don't have a lot of options. It's huge because you can send that out to literally, if you go on a website, if you go on the Boise State website or Idaho State website, you can find a list of every coach's email right there, bang. And you might get them to read it because your subject line is impressive, whether it's all state or big points that you average or something. If you can get them to open it and they click on it quickly, I mean, they might just have it on a tablet and be in a gym and it's at halftime, they're bored because they're watching a bad game and hit it. You never know. I think that's critical. Another one that I've been saying is big is, again, I'm assuming this is for people that maybe come from a smaller community or whatever. If they have an elite camp or they have a open gym that they will let you into with their guys, or some way to take yourself to them, it can be really critical. Because it's getting that school that you're interested in and you've got their undivided attention. I think that's a really critical thing. So again, if you've got a list of 5 schools that you're really interested in and it's realistically your level, then go to their elite camp, go to their open gym, call them up and ask them, "Hey, can I come?" Because they can approach them as much as they would like. Or have an AU coach or someone that's respected. Because again, you have your mom call. Everybody's mom thinks they're wonderful. The coach is going to say, "Oh, great, thanks, appreciate it." Click. Conversation's over. They're going to forget about you the next second. But if you can get into elite camp and you do well, that's a big one. I do think some showcases can be good if they're reputable. If you know of someone that can get you into one of those. A lot of times they're not necessarily great for like that you can get. In other words, maybe there's some scouts there that can get tweeting about you or something. Again, Twitter and Facebook have made the world so small that if you can grow some legs by doing this, because it's something that is being proactive, and I think that's maybe the key term is try and be as proactive as you can. I think people think that high school is such a big deal, and it is. It's important to win championships. It's important to win games. But as far as exposure, it's really difficult because you're talking about the exact same season that they're in. And depending on the budget of that team, if you're a high major, obviously, if you're a high major player, you probably don't need to do anything. They're going to recruit you. But if you're a low major guy and you're trying to get recruited across the country, I mean, for them to get on a plane and fly over during their own season, and it's a low major, they don't have a big staff, it's pretty, you're asking for them to do a lot, and they're probably not going to be able to do that. So I just think those are some things that I would suggest. I think that they've worked for our guys. But again, I think something's better than nothing. You got to be proactive nowadays. You can't just sit back and wait. So. Okay, well, first of all, I would try and I think that everybody gets carried away thinking that when you're in 5th grade, 7th grade, you need to be out traveling the world and doing all this. And I think that be a little bit sparing with your cash, depending on your budget, obviously. But it's pointless for you to get out to get. The biggest thing at that age is to just be good enough. So just practice, compete. If there's a game going anywhere, get there. Find a way to get there. Mom, dad, whoever. When you're a sophomore in high school, let's say you make your varsity team and you're a good player and you're on that path, because it's very few of those sophomores know if they're going to be a Division I player or not, unless they're a high major, they're 6'9", or they're just doing something that's just freakish. But the biggest thing, and I think starting as a sophomore, it's good, is they're getting on their varsity team, is to try and get out. And at that point in time, you're not necessarily looking to get a scholarship offer. You're looking to just get on everybody's radar. You want everybody to know your name, be familiar with it, because of whatever it is that you do well, and you want it all to be positive. You don't want to be out there trying to be fancy or whatever. You just want everything to be great. Just you're a great player, tough kid. So I would say go on the AAU circuit. If they have some elite camps, start trying to get in the mix with some of those. But you're still growing into your body, so you want to continue to get stronger, better, whatever. So high school season, doing it, try and travel spring and summer. Try and get into a few elite camps or whatever else. Now, we talked about that highlight film. Depending on how good your sophomore season was, you may not have a great one. You know what I mean? Or you may be a little bit, you may look really young. Wouldn't be bad to have a 2, 3, 5-minute video, but it's got to be something good. If you're well on your way, that's great. You know, make a couple great plays, put it in there. Because reality is only Division I schools are going to start early. D2, NEI, and junior colleges, they don't have the budget to start recruiting you as a sophomore. Junior year, you want to have a great high school season, but I'm telling you that the most important time for a high school, as far as recruitment, is the spring and summer between their junior and senior year. Junior year's over. Obviously, hopefully you won a championship or you made some noise. The problem with high school is, it's just like if I play a little bit of poker, but you deal me 2 cards, I got to play them. That's how your high school coach feels. AAU basketball, travel basketball is a different story. You get to pick your team, so you want to play on a good team that's going to get in the right gyms at the right times. And people get so confused. They think it's about how many points you score, this, that. You do your job. Recruiting is all about how did you separate yourself from all the other players that play your position. If you're a center or a rebounder, you got to rebound and block shots. You don't get caught up trying to shoot threes. People think that they're going to get this scholarship. But point guards are going to get compared to other point guards, shooting guards to shooting guards, so on and so forth. So just do your role. Buy in, sell out, do it hard, do it well. That's what's going to get your scholarship. Because nobody's going to say, well, you scored more or whatever. A coach needs a position. If they're recruiting a point guard and you're a center, they ain't going to recruit you anyways. They don't need 5 centers. They need a point guard. So again, just do their job and kick butt that whole summer. Again, try and find some schools that you like, some schools that are interested in you, and try and get on their campus. Because if you're on a quality AAU team, these coaches get paid a lot of money to find you. And if they're not doing their job, if you're not getting the calls after a good AAU season, you're either playing for the wrong AAU team or just flat out you're not good enough. I mean, that's bottom line. I always use this. I say this term to my daughter. You probably can cut this out, but I talk to our kids. You get what you get, and you don't throw a fit. And the reason why is you play the spring and summer out. The offers come in, but complain that you didn't get enough or whatever. It is what it is. I mean, you know what I mean? Like that's the level you are. If you're getting recruited by low majors, then you're low major. D2, you're D2. High major, so on. So anyways, and then as a senior, kick butt. But that's your time that you need to take visits that spring. Players I've had that have been at that level, you take some visits, find the schools, narrow it down. Whether you commit in the spring, in the fall or the spring, but you want to make an educated decision. And so everybody's a little different when they commit, but I think it's critical that you get some visits to the right schools, play your winter season, have an awesome season, go win a championship. And then in the next spring, my suggestion is to play less AAU basketball and try and see how many times you can get on the campus that you just signed with and play with their guys as much as you can. Play as much as you can with those guys. Obviously, if they're doing something, you want to play games and do whatever as long as it's competitive. But at that point in time, I always feel like it's the kids' responsibility to start taking their game to a college level. They're not a high school player anymore. The next season they're a college player. They need to get going. Get ready for that. If they're a big, I will add this. If you're a big and 6'8", there is a chance that after your senior year you're going to start getting recruited because bigs are so hard to find. If you're a point guard, probably odds are against it. But if you're a big and you're just playing hard and you're strong, you may get some D1 love late when you hadn't gotten anything up until that point because bigs are so hard to find. So if you're 6'8", 6'7", 6'8", and above, and your games come along, your body's come along, stick with it because that one you may have a chance late because they get recruited so much late. It's just there's just not bigs. There's not. I mean, it's just like I always tell kids, is basket's 10 feet in the air. Reality is size matters. So, and they're hard to find. So, anyways.
My name is Trent Shippen, and I grew up in Idaho. Went to Rigby High School, and then after that I went to Ricks College for a year. Then went on a church mission for the LDS Church, home church, and then came back and played another year at Ricks College. And then I went to Colorado State and played there for 2 years. And as a coach, I coached at Colorado State a year after I finished up there. And then I did 1 year in high school at Rocky Mountain High School while I was doing my student teaching in Fort Collins, Colorado, local high school there near Colorado State. And then after that, I did not coach for a year. I tried to get on with Rick Majerus at the University of Utah. Did my graduate work there. I went to the practices, did their camps, and did a year of graduate work. And then I got a job at Ricks College, partway through my graduate school. Assistant coaching with women's basketball at Ricks, and then I coached that for 1 year, and then went assistant with the men's basketball team at Ricks, and then got the head women's basketball and assistant men's basketball. I was there for 5 years, and then left to BYU in Provo and coached women's basketball there for 5 years. And then I went back after that. That was as far as official coaching I was done at that time. And then went back to BYU Idaho, where I'm currently the intramural director, coordinator over all the competitive and recreational sports at the school. Back in my high school playing days, I got a few letters from the local universities, Idaho State, Utah State, Southern Utah. They were just letters of interest, so I wasn't highly recruited as a Division I athlete. Junior college, College of Southern Idaho, Ricks College, Snow, Dixie College at the time was a junior college. So I was recruited more junior college. I might finish off after that at Ricks. Then I was recruited by many Division I schools for junior college, and the ones that I narrowed it down to that needed a junior college point guard was University of Hawaii, Idaho State, which was local, and Colorado State. Those were the three as far as visits. But I had multiple Division I's from the junior college level as far as recruiting that really helped. Lots of opportunities. From the junior college level, I went around and played at the universities after I got through playing. So I actually went to their campuses. I wasn't developed and just physically ready and that. I don't think for the junior college level you're able to do that. You can actually go on their campuses and play, whereas the Division I, the coaches can't evaluate you and watch you play. And so that was a key thing. They could see me play live on their campus. And then Ricks College was a local junior college. They're next to my home, so they got to see me play while I was in high school, and they saw me play in the state tournament. And so I was able to play with some of the players even in the off season, and that was an advantage for me because it was local. As far as the junior college, the coaches are really, I think, important. Your college coaches. A lot of people in junior college, they'll call their coach to find out who is ready for that level and who to watch, and the tournaments that you play in, especially the postseason tournaments. A lot of college recruiters are looking for those kids right at that time who can come in and play them right off the bat, not necessarily freshmen out of high school. And so Coach Garner was our coach at the time, and he really did a nice job of inviting those coaches. Hey, you need it. Here's a couple. We had 4 guys that went on to play Division I from that team, and about 8 on my freshman team that went on to play. So that was really a big advantage. high school, sometimes you don't have as, and it helps junior college wise because those kids are ready to play, and so there's probably a larger number that will come and watch as far as Division I coaches. And in Idaho, there's not a lot, and so I didn't get really recruited. I could have maybe gone Division I, but just because I was in a small metropolitan, that's what you're trying to do in this interview, is find out how can you do that. I was fortunate enough to get a junior college to bite right close by. I probably would have done a little bit more had, if it wouldn't have done so. And that's a great thing. And being a coach myself on the Division I level, when you come from a small or a big school, probably the number one thing, if you really want to go to school, is see them face to face. Visit with them, let them know about you, see your family. So an unofficial visit really is extremely important. Now, as a coach, I had a lot of unofficial visits from a lot of families and players come to me and talk to me, and it's hard to know how good they are. But the fact that I visit with them, just to start off, you get a letter in the mail or some videotapes. I'd be watching play. I think the videotape option is a good option, somewhat good. It's always good to see them live and see what's really, really happening. But that is a great start, though. If you've got a video and it's not long, if it's really long, coach will send it on them. But if it's short with some, you can show your athleticism, show your ability to shoot, show your percentages, and then show defense, offense in a short period of time. Those are, hey, maybe we need to look at this kid. I would look at that, or my recruiting coach would do that. Say, we ought to take a look at this kid and just look at this. So it's amazing what you can do just from a videotape. That doesn't necessarily open up the door, but at least it gets them looking. And then and if you're playing in any AAU ball or times where the Division I coaches can be out watching and evaluating, that is a great way to be seen because they can see you playing multiple games during the summer if you show them your schedule. And if there's kids that you're watching, we would actually, if they're good quality kids, we'll follow them as a Division I coach. And maybe it gets into another question you have, but we would follow and watch them and say, okay, is this something we really want? And then recruit them hard. We try and get as many kids and see what their interest is that we see that maybe we never even know about. We've sent them a letter, but as a player, to be seen is a really important thing. Well, at BYU, we would recruit all 50 states. However, we did focus on, because the church was a private institution, our focus was to go where the LDS kids were, the kids that are affiliated with the church, because we had a greater chance of landing them to come to university. And they're all over the country. We would focus maybe a little bit more in the heavily populated areas of the LDS faith. Utah, obviously. We usually picked up 2 or 3 kids out of Utah. Idaho once in a while, California, Oregon, Washington, the West Coast a lot more. Once in a while we had a couple of kids from back east, but it's hard to get somebody from the East Coast to come to a West Coast school unless there's some type of a really attachment. We had a couple of those kids. We had a couple of kids from Canada too, but again, that's because of their faith, their beliefs in the church. And we had a few kids that knew, they had friends of the school that were non-members that weren't affiliated with the university. And you almost have to have a connection, because going to a private university, what are they going to teach? What's going to be involved there? And so, but we would still try and recruit the best athletes we could. That's our mainstay. But which ones can we actually land to and be most successful with the money that you have and the travel and all that involved in time? As I kind of mentioned earlier, I think the videotape is a start. An unofficial visit is really good. Letting us know when they're playing in a state tournament files. You can watch a kid playing regular season, they don't make it to postseason. Your team success makes a lot of difference, because you know that they're a winner. They've been in programs and coaches that have taught a lot of the fundamentals. So being part of a fundamentally strong team, you notice that a lot of kids now, they're migrating scholarship-wise to teams. Unfortunately, maybe it's a blessing and curse, but they will migrate to teams where the coaches are placing their athletes there, and so and it is an advantage. It is an advantage, but if you're not, that doesn't mean you can't make it. I'm just saying it's an advantage, but you still got to let yourself know. Going to the summer camps actually can be, coaches will hey, the players that see kids that come to your camp during the summer. They'll say, you got to look at this kid. Your assistant coaches might be there helping out camp, or players say, hey, if there's some kids that you see that we need to look at, hey, let's watch it and maybe talk to them right there on the campus. It's a great way to get to them. So from a player standpoint, that's probably, we actually signed quite a few kids, or watched a lot of few kids from our own camp. However, it's expensive for kids. Expenses are big, so if a kid can't afford to come to your camp and you're trying to recruit somebody somewhere else, you got to look at what can I do. Videotapes is an option. Having team success is an option. Just anything you can, any little successes. And then timing is big. Even though you might be really good, sometimes timing does not work out, unfortunately. So when you're recruiting yourself, you got to look at timing, your abilities, position, and you may be a really good player, but guess what? I already got two people in that position. Just say you just signed a sophomore and junior or another freshman, so you got to look at all those things. I as a player out of Rick's College, I wanted to go to BYU and play, and they were really close to recruiting me. However, because it was part of my faith. And it was, and then the junior college was a link to it at that time, but there was no room for a point guard, and so Colorado State was where I ended up going, and they're in the same conference. But that was a perfect fit for me. Colorado State, they needed a junior college point guard, so you look at your fit and timing and the whole thing, and sometimes it's not always I'm going to go to that university, and it can be. But you might have to sacrifice. You might have to go there as a walk-on for a year, and be at all their off-season stuff and earn your way. And a lot of kids, if you really sincerely want to do that, you might be able to do it that route. And I had 3 or 4 walk-on kids go to the university, even though they didn't get signed, and they would be part of our program. And I ended up offering a few of them some scholarships later because they earned it. They worked hard, and so it's possible if you have the determination to do something and be there, but it takes effort and energy and maybe your own funds to do it too. And so everybody has to look at their situation, what they want to do. And maybe junior colleges are out just because you got to maybe get an opportunity to play on the JC level before Division I. But anyways, there's just a lot of different things you got to look at. And how you can expose yourself to that university. I think send in 10 videos and you don't have time as a college recruiter, or even 3 full-length films. Now if you're one of the best that there is, maybe you'll spend time watching the whole thing, but if you're just one in hundreds that come in, and through digital or through the mail or through whatever that comes in. A lot of us turn it, I guess, assuming to digital now with the way technology is. But because of time and everything, I think if you have a whole bunch of length and there's times when you don't even see yourself on the floor, you get lost. But if you can edit, come forward and show all the good things in one, and maybe a half of a game. And so if you send in 3 videos, it's hardly just because of time, but if you've got maybe one and watch and you specify, these are the things that you need to look for on this number. And the bad ones, they don't, okay, they might say their name and their number, and then they don't give any the statistics of the game, and you're just supposed to pick them out, and it's full length. You got to maybe see one still in the game. They're going to get lost in the shuffle. So It's really making it, you've got a window of, let's say you've got 2 minutes. Literally, give me 2 minutes to show me your stuff. And if it's good, I move forward. If it's bad, okay, we're moving to the next one. It's that quick sometimes. Because they'll see your athleticism, they'll see your statistics, they'll see the success. Because if you're, unless they know you, they're okay, what's going to cause me to go further and dig further? And it's the same thing in the interview process when you're interviewing for a job. What's going to be the eye-catching thing in the first 2 minutes? Tell me a little about you. Ooh, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. Experience, success. What have you been involved with? Who do you know? And so it's the same thing as a recruit. If you can show the wow in a short period of time, that's the key thing, I think, to going further.